Hello, I'm Carsten Ohrmann, Transformation Advisor and founder of the CxO-Evolution.Academy. I help people, particularly entrepreneurs and innovative leadership personalities, shifting their worldviews and self-conceptions so that they are empowered to create a better life and a better business for themselves and a better world for all of us. I'm happy to speak to you here at the IIL International Project Management Day 2016. As the main subject of this conference is project management, let me start by asking you a question. What is the biggest project you can imagine? Just take a moment to think about this. Is it organizing a birthday party or building a house? Is it designing an aircraft or integrating two global companies in a post-merger scenario? What's the biggest project that you can imagine? Is it to transform an entire industry or market sector, or to send a space mission to the moon or Mars or beyond? If you would ask me, I would say the biggest project I personally can imagine is to change the entire world. It is to create a better life, a better business and a better world for all of us. I'm talking about a large transformation which can change the way every single human being on this planet thinks, feels and acts. I know that sounds a bit crazy, but if you wish, I'm happy to give you some insight into the project plan during the next couple of minutes. Before we dive into the details of the change mechanism, let's first have a closer look at our starting point. What does the world around us look like today? Take a moment to think about your personal life today. Think about your health. Think about your happiness. Think about personal relationships. For many people, life is a struggle. We are extremely busy and stressed. We fight to achieve our goals. We are fearful and frustrated. We might even suffer from more or less severe health conditions. And our personal relationships often prove to be difficult. In a nutshell, our personal life today is often out of balance and could certainly be better. Now think about your business today. Think about your job. Think about your colleagues. Think about your employees. Think about your clients. Think about your partners and suppliers. I work with many global organizations and business leaders. In almost every business environment, you find severe time, cost and quality pressures wherever you look. Business today is really tough. Competition is severe. People are not motivated. Clients are not happy. Ethical and legal standards get ignored. Big companies consolidate the market, and small companies go out of business. The pressure is increasing. Only the strongest and fittest survive. Everyone is running faster and faster. Those who can't stand the pace fall behind and ultimately fall off the table. Game over. Now take a moment to think about the world today. Think about the society. Think about living conditions, both in your own country and abroad. Think about wars and terror. Think about unemployment. Think about poverty. Think about nature. The rich-poor gap widens on a daily basis. In some regions, people don't have the bare minimum in order to survive. At the same time, we are destroying important life resources such as fertile soil and fresh water all over the world. Natural habitats are shrinking, and we are in the midst of the biggest mass extinction of species ever. All of that is man-made. But we are not only destroying our environment, we are also threatening and killing each other. The number of wars, terror and armed conflict is beyond imagination. I think most of you will agree when I say there is clearly room for improvement. But what's the root cause for all of that? Well, it's clearly difficult to pin down all of the problems to one or two main reasons. Just think about this. I personally think challenges are related to some kind of fear and egocentricity. Wouldn't our life, our business and the world be much better with less fear and ego-driven behavior? If you now ask yourself why I'm so passionate about that topic, I can tell you that there are basically three good reasons. First, I really think a change is possible. Second, at some point in my global senior management career, I felt that I would want to give my life more meaning than simply trying to increase the shareholder value of one single company. And third, somehow I've always been a change agent. I wanted to understand and improve systems. Only the scope and size of my ambition has grown over time. As a mechanical engineer, I was keen to understand and improve mechanical systems. As a management consultant, I wanted to understand and improve organizational systems. As a senior executive, I've driven a number of global business transformations. As a sustainability expert, I want to address the global challenges we face today. And as a coach and founder of the CxO-Evolution.Academy, I support individuals on their personal and leadership development journeys. This very broad professional background, combined with over 20 years of intense researching both natural sciences and old wisdom traditions, allowed me to see some underlying connections. And today, I'm able to address hundreds of people all around the world, educating, coaching, and connecting them in order to create a better life, a better business, and a better world. So let's look at the underlying change mechanism. Some of you might be familiar with the logical levels model developed by Robert Dilts, one of the founding fathers of NLP. I use the same principles here in a slightly condensed model. At the bottom of the pyramid, we have the environment. That environment is the result of our collective behavior, whilst our behavior is driven by our values and beliefs. Our values and beliefs, on the other hand, are depending on our perceived identity and purpose. So every change of the environment starts with behavioral change. This is very much in line with Gandhi's famous quote, "Be the change that you wish to see in the world." But we need to understand that there are two different motivations for changing. A, an extrinsic motivation for change, and B, an intrinsic motivation for change. I personally think that most change initiatives fail in the long run because they rely on extrinsic motivations only. They simply provide some incentives for a while, for example, money or recognition, to provoke a different behavior. It's a bit like training monkeys. But if we aim to generate a lasting behavioral change, we have to address the intrinsic motivation on the values and beliefs level. Some of you might have done an exercise to determine your personal values and beliefs at some point already. But how many of you have ever tried to change a personal set of values and beliefs? According to the model, our values and beliefs might change if our perception of identity shifts. So what's ultimately needed to trigger a personal, business, and global transformation is a different self-conception. In other words, the world can change significantly if we find a different answer to the question, who am I? Okay, that's easy, isn't it? We just find a different answer to the question, who am I? And that will solve all of our problems. By the way, could you remind me, what is your current answer to the question, who am I? I mean, it might be good to know the starting point before we aim to find a different self-conception, wouldn't it? I hope you get my point. For thousands of years, philosophers have been arguing about this important question. But frankly, today, only a few people can give a clear and concise answer to the question, who am I? So what do they do instead? Very simple. They relate to some unconscious and hence never actively reflected core assumption about who they are. Most people will say something like, I am my body, and my consciousness is a product of my brain. We take that for granted because those core assumptions about our identity are in line with our mainstream school of thought, our society's current worldview. This mainstream worldview is our most commonly agreed upon theoretical model of how reality works. It includes well-known theories such as the Big Bang Theory by George Lemaitre in 1927, or the theory of evolution by Charles Darwin in 1859. Those theories are presented in our standard educational and media systems, and hence it is quite normal that we consider them as the ultimate truths. We could say that today our normal perception of reality somehow looks like this. We have a body, and this body interacts with our material world around us. We send information by saying and doing certain things. At the same time, we receive information through our natural senses, like seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling. This information is then recognized as experience. All those experiences, over time, form our beliefs. And our beliefs determine our thinking, which then drives our behavior. This is the ongoing process that creates our personal perception of reality. Some people call this our reality loop. Now let's have a closer look at our beliefs for a moment. We all have a certain set of beliefs. Some of them are conscious and some others are unconscious beliefs. For example, some people believe that they are ugly. Some people believe that they are too fat. Some people believe, oh, I can't do this, or I don't deserve that. Some people believe money is good. Some believe money is bad. Some believe that they have to work hard in order to survive, and so on. But there are also more fundamental beliefs about how the world works. Here we find ideas such as the universe was created in a Big Bang. Nothing exists outside our material reality. Nothing is faster than the speed of light. Human beings are the result of a very long process of random gene mutation and natural selection, and our consciousness is created by our material brains. Let's call this particular set of beliefs, which leads to our normal perception of reality, the red worldview. Remember, everyone can have his or her own individual worldview. But as we have said before, most people hardly think about their worldview. Instead, they simply adopt the red worldview from our media and educational systems as the most commonly accepted mainstream knowledge. But here comes the big leap. What would happen if the red worldview would turn out to be wrong? What would happen if some of those established mainstream theories would be challenged because of new scientific evidence? One challenge might come from a different understanding of the meaning of consciousness and how consciousness interacts with matter. Let's just play with this idea for a moment. Imagine our current worldview would change. Imagine there would be another alternative worldview. Let's call this the Green Worldview. In this Green Worldview, a kind of natural consciousness, an information and communication field, an ICF, would exist next to our material reality. It's obviously a hypothesis for the moment, but let's assume such an information and communication field would exist. We could then believe that this information and communication field is the basis of everything. And we might be able to directly interact with this field, sending and receiving information, depending on our level of consciousness. The Green Worldview offers an additional choice of self-conception. We can either identify ourselves with the material reality around us or with the information and communication field. The question, who am I, can suddenly be answered in two different ways. You can say, I am a body with consciousness, or I am consciousness with a body. Well, you might probably say that there is no significant difference between those two self-conceptions. But take a moment to really think about this. Your perception of identity has profound implications. The red worldview doesn't allow any choice. You have to believe that you are a material being because material reality is all that exists. In the red worldview, you feel separate from all others and from nature. The Green Worldview hypothesis, on the other hand, suggests the existence of an information and communication field outside the material reality. If you therefore choose to identify yourself with this information and communication field, you feel much closer connected and one with all others. Now take into consideration that our body will die and decay at some point. In a red worldview, this implies the end of your entire existence. In a Green Worldview, your consciousness could potentially exist in the information field even without your physical brain and body. Therefore, a kind of life after your physical death could be possible. Again, let me remind you, this is just a thought experiment for the moment, and that the existence of an information and communication field is only a hypothesis so far. We don't have enough time now to look at the potential evidence that might support the information field hypothesis. If you would want to learn more about this, feel free to get in touch. Anyhow, do you remember what we said before? A lot of our challenges today can be traced down to a fearful and egocentric behavior. Do you see the big potential of this Green Worldview? In a Green Worldview scenario, where people choose to identify themselves with the information and communication field, there would be less fear and less egocentricity. A lot of the problems we face today would stop to exist. It all comes down to the relationship between consciousness and matter. Which one came first? The red worldview suggests that matter exists before consciousness. The green worldview suggests that consciousness exists before matter. Depending on the color of your worldview, what will happen to your egocentricity? When we choose to identify ourselves with the material reality, we perceive us as being separate from all others. This is the basis of egocentricity. When, on the other hand, we identify ourselves with the information and communication field, we feel much closer connected and one. Egocentricity fades away. Depending on the color of your worldview, what will happen to your fears? When we choose to identify ourselves with the material reality, our existence is constantly threatened. This is the basis of our fear. When, on the other hand, we decide to identify ourselves with the information and communication field, our consciousness can exist even beyond the physical death of our body. This allows us to be less fearful and concerned. People with a red worldview tend to be more afraid, aggressive, angry, and arrogant, whilst people with a green worldview would be more happy, healthy, helpful, and honest. These are obviously only a few attributes I've quoted. Ultimately, it's your choice what kind of behavior you would prefer. With less fear and less egocentricity in a green worldview, people start leading a more authentic, calm, and non-judgmental life. That is what I would call a better life. And as we are all interacting with others, our new behavior and attitude will radiate out. First, it reaches our families and friends. Then, it touches our business environment. This is particularly interesting for the business leaders I'm working with. Our employees are more loyal and motivated. Our clients better understood and served. Our suppliers more respected and valued. Our overall business conducted in a more ethical, compliant, and sustainable way. That's what I would call a better business. A green worldview-based corporate culture provides a new competitive edge. In the future, customers might choose to buy from you on that basis, and talents might choose to work for you because of that green worldview. Finally, the more individuals and businesses start to change, the bigger the positive impact on our society and nature would become. In a green worldview society, everyone would be more respectful and supportive. We would not further destroy our planet, and the Earth will be a lovely place for many generations to come. That's what I would call the better world. So let me quickly summarize what we have said so far. To create a better life, a better business, and a better world, you need to trigger profound personal, business, and global transformation processes. Each transformation always starts on the individual level. To change the behavior, shift the self-conception and the worldview. Today, most people have a material-based red worldview. This red worldview is still promoted by our mainstream science, media, and educational systems. The alternative green worldview is based on an information and communication field hypothesis. The existence of an information and communication field would allow a different choice of self-conception. This is the personal transformation process, which then leads to subsequent business and global transformations. So from a project management point of view, we do have a mechanism to improve our lives, businesses, and the entire world. Nevertheless, this mechanism depends on our ability to challenge existing assumptions and our willingness to accept the green worldview as being true. Let us be honest, not everyone is open to discover and change old assumptions, and not everyone is open to accept a green worldview. So if we aim to implement this project plan, we have to start working with the right people. Leonardo da Vinci said there are three classes of people. A, those who see. B, those who see when they are shown. And C, those who don't see. I actually think there are four classes. A, those who see. B, those who see when they are shown. C, those who don't see. And A+, those who see and show others. If we really want to change the world, we first need to develop and encourage those who see when they are shown, and most importantly, those who see and show others. These people are the true innovators, according to the diffusion of innovations theory by Rogers. I guess you're familiar with this famous bell curve, which says that there are different groups of people when it comes to accepting innovative ideas or products. The innovators are the first to adopt the green worldview, followed by the early adopters. Then come the early majority, then the late majority, and finally the laggards. But there is another very important aspect that the diffusion of innovations model provides: the concept of a critical mass. So assume we would want to change the entire world. This means that approximately 10 billion people would need to take on a green worldview. I've taken 10 billion mainly because it's a nice round number to remember, and aggressive estimations of the world population growth predict 10 billion by the year 2050. But because of the critical mass, which is around 16%, we don't have to actively convince all 10 billion people. Only 1.6 billion people will need to take on a green worldview, and then the rest will follow automatically. From my own global business experience, particularly in sales and marketing, I know that we have got the tools and techniques available to reach 1.6 billion people. Just think about how many companies exist that have a brand recognition of more than 1.6 billion people worldwide. So let me summarize again. It seems that our life today, our business today, and the world would need some improvement. The key to change is a different self-conception based on a green worldview. We don't have to convince everyone. We only need to start with the right people and then gradually get to the critical mass. We have got the tools and techniques to reach more than 1.6 billion people worldwide. We therefore can create a better life, a better business, and a better world. If you are interested to learn more or to get involved in this huge project, please contact me via IIL or directly. Until then, thank you very much for your attention and take good care.